I know you guys just debated yesterday, didn't you? I saw you on the news. All right, hopefully we won't be too repetitive here, but a lot of folks didn't get to see that yesterday. We'll have a chance today. All right, as Tyler mentioned, there was a coin flip, and Mayor George didn't outline that, so we'll begin with you. George, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you 2 minutes for opening statement, and then Ed, you get 2. Then we'll get into our first question. Again, because you won the coin flip, George will do that, and then closing statements also, George, you'll begin that. So, without any further ado, thank you folks. Make sure your cell phones are turned off. Thanks for having me today, and let's get started. George, 2 minutes for opening statement.
Well, thank you, Lee, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming to this event today. As you heard, this is, I think, our 5th. 4 face-to-face and 1 other one on the radio, so Ed and I are getting to be kind of old hands at this by this point. What I'd like to do is talk a little bit about a vision for Redmond. And I was asked yesterday a question about, why youth. And I guess when you think about what happened in Redmond 10 years ago when I took over, that was 2009, I became mayor, and we were in the worst recession since the Great Depression. And it was a very tough time. And of course, as many of you know, Central Oregon, when we have our ebbs and flows, we tend to have really big ebbs and really big flows. And so we were really suffering during that recession. A lot of unemployment. I don't know if you remember, our crafts trades got down to 36% unemployment. So it was a really tough time. And however, during all of that, Redmond thrived. We rebuilt downtown. We built parks. We were able to do a lot of improvements. We kept our roads in really good shape. We were able to work pretty collectively with our schools. We were able to buy some property and continue to do improvements to Redmond. What I'd like to do is see all that continue. I know we have a lot of projects in front of us. We have a lot of things. But, my focus has always been on people in Redmond. The projects that we're doing tend to be things that we can do to support folks. And then finally, it is the living wage jobs, the trade sector and manufacturing, industrial jobs that not only give a nice living wage, but they have a very good multiplier effect in the community. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, the Central Oregon Association of Realtors, for giving us this opportunity to talk to you about, actually, it's in 2009, when the recession hit, I lobbied George to form what's called an Economic Development Commission, develop a blueprint for how do we improve our economy here in Redmond. We had a very talented group of people who eventually got appointed to that commission, and for 2 to 3 years, we worked on developing a plan for economic development. What that plan, the conclusion of that plan was, you have to take a holistic approach to our community in order to thrive from an economic development perspective. Not only do you work on like tax breaks or anything like that for new industry coming in, but when people come to Redmond, they're looking at a number of things that they want to see. They want to see good homes, they want to see a good neighborhood, they want to see good schools, they want to see a good downtown. All those things go into the mix as to how you're going to attract new businesses, people who want to live here, and that's what our focus was from that. The problem that I see today is that we're not taking that approach here in Redmond. We're letting important issues go by the wayside. South Highway 97 is perhaps a key one. George and I have completely different views of that. I think we need to look at extending the reroute, which now ends at the Highland Glacier Couplet, southeast of the tracks to a point south of View Interchange. If we don't preserve that corridor now, we will lose it forever. From your experience, South Highway 97 does not work now. In the future, it's going to work less and less and less. We got to solve that problem now. We cannot wait 20 or 30 years, which is what George has been advocating. We have to address that now, and we have to take aggressive actions to do so. Same thing with our housing development. I don't think it's wise to just let developers dictate how this community is going to grow. We need better growth management in this town. We need to make sure that we're creating viable and attractive neighborhoods with all our new development, not just having tract subdivisions where all the houses look the same. Same thing with economic development, go near the golf course. We need to take actions to develop that into a business park rather than having it as a desert or a black hole in the middle of our business sector. I have a plan to do that. No one in the city has even advocated that for the past 10 years. COCC will need to expand its campus in order to become an integrated campus where you can get an associate degree. To do that, they're going to need city property down the road, which is adjacent to it. That land is subject to a patent. We need to get that patent removed from the FAA so that we can donate that land to the public that they need it. Those are the kind of issues we need to address. They aren't getting addressed, and I believe we need to change in our direction in order to have this community stay viable and vibrant down the
All right, so thank you very much, Ed. We're having a little bit of a problem with our clock there.
Yeah, you got 4 minutes, what's that all about?
Okay, Kyle gives me the thumbs up. All right, well, thank you for the opening statements, candidates. Let's get to our first question now. And George, you get to start, then Ed, you will also answer, and then each of you, if so desire, will have 1 minute to rebut. First question, George Endicott. Oregon is in the midst of an affordable housing crisis, and Redmond is certainly no exception. As some people in the community struggle to find an affordable home, if elected mayor, how would you lead on this issue, and what solutions would you propose?
Well, thanks for the question, Lee. Actually, Redmond right now is one of 2 finalists on a pilot project being supported by the Land Conservation and Development Commission in Salem. The other city is Bend, ironically enough. And it's a 40-acre plot that's out here on the northeast side of town, which not only would be a piece of land that's going to be 50% affordable housing at 50% market rate, interspersed so that you don't end up with clusters. The other thing it would be very interesting is it's destined to be an incubator for the rest of the northeast part of Redmond to develop. So we're really quite excited. We'll find out next month if we actually got that project. And meanwhile, Senator Canoe is working on a piece of legislation to actually modify the original law so that both Bend and Redmond can get their affordable housing projects. The difference being is that we have, ours is a public-private partnership that we've teamed up with the county. Bend's is a purely private endeavor. So it'll be interesting. Hope they both work. Hope the experiments work, and we'll find out about some different concepts for being able to build affordable housing. As far as in Redmond itself, you know, we've been exploring different strategies, things like SDC credits, some other things, maybe higher density. We've already got in our code that people are allowed to have accessory dwelling units, so you can have more than one, otherwise known, I guess, as a granny flat. So you can actually have multiple dwelling units on a single piece of property. So we're doing a lot of research and trying to come up with different ways to be able to address the affordable housing crunch. And as you heard Lee mention, it is a statewide problem. It exists everywhere with our vacancy rates down to 1% range. So look forward to that project. Thank you.
For the affordable housing, we have to be very careful because you can't just create a whole area where you just have low-income housing. That doesn't work from a viability standpoint long term. All of you here in Redmond know Hayden Village, which was built back in the late 80s and early 90s. That thing became run down in about 10 years and became basically an area of problems for the city. So you have to be very careful on how you do the affordable housing. Commanding flats are a great idea, but if you have a lot of them in an established neighborhood, you could compromise the livability of that established neighborhood. If there's places for it, I think what you need to do is actually improve the residential areas around downtown, particularly between downtown and Canyon. For example, you could do a local improvement district, put sidewalks in to attract more young families into that area where the housing is less expensive. They can remodel, enhance those residential dwellings, have sidewalks so it's safe for children to play. They aren't having to walking in the streets. You can have more apartment buildings closer to downtown where people have an opportunity to walk. If you put low-income people way down on the northeast side, there's problem. How are they going to get around? One of the biggest solutions to affordable housing is having affordable daycare. So you can have two-family income. That helps a lot in terms of meeting the financial requirements of home ownership. There's a variety of solutions out there. None of them are really easy. It's a problem because of our success economically right now, that we have such a low vacancy rate and high rent rates. But you have to look at them carefully so you don't compromise established neighborhoods and you don't create a neighborhood that's not going to work.
All right, George, you have a minute to either expound on what was said or to rebut what Mr. Fish said.
That's fine.
You're willing to
Yeah,
see
go
that?
ahead.
Okay. Ed, would you like another minute?
I think we're good.
All right, we're on to question number 2 then. And Ed, you'll start this one. Redmond is growing, and population estimates show that the trend is not likely to change anytime soon. What does smart growth mean to you?
Well, smart growth is not waiting SDCs, number one. Those SDCs are vital because they support arterials and collectors, get people from one place to another. If you don't have the SDCs, you can't expand your sewer plant properly, you can't expand your water facility to accommodate those population needs of a growing community. So I don't agree with waiving SDCs. I think there have to be other ways in order to help, for example, affordable housing. Smart growth means you have to look at this community. We're at 30,000 now. Look at it from a perspective of it being 50 or 60,000 and then reverse engineer it. That will tell you what you need for your arterials, your collectors, your sewer system, your water system, and particularly for the major routes, Highway 126 and Highway 97. If you reverse engineer it from that perspective, you're going to come up with a lot of solutions long term, and you won't be able to implement now, but you will be able to identify and preserve the opportunity to do those instead of having development take away those opportunities. So smart growth is going way beyond what I'll call it LCDC requires, which is a 20-year view. You look at it much farther out, you're going to come up with a lot more solutions and a lot more capability of protecting solutions in the future.
Thank you. In 2006, we approved the urban reserve area and the urban growth boundary for Redmond. The urban reserve area is a 50-year view of how your city should grow. The urban growth boundary, by comparison, is a 20-year land bank. We are in the process of developing that now. About half of that 2,000 acres is actually approved and or under construction. You see a lot of that on the site of Redmond. You heard me mention the Northeast and that special project we're doing out there. All that land is 1,500 acres out there that's part of the urban reserve, which is our 50-year look. So what we did when we did that, we actually did a focused master plan for the entire community for that entire 50-year swatch. Now, granted, those are high-level views, but where should we build? What should we build? When should we build it? That includes industrial tracts, it includes residential tracts, it includes commercial tracts, and even what we call cultural centers are part of that master plan. From there, then, we went into area plans, and that's what you see today. On the east side, we have some residential areas, but also some allowance in there for both employment and some commercial development. So we have laid out really what I will call a smart growth plan for Redmond for the next 50 years. Pretty proud to be part of that whole process, to watch it develop. We did get it approved in record time. I think, our poor friends to the south were trying a similar activity and tried to combine their efforts, and took them 10 years and millions to get theirs approved. Just so you know, ours took about 2 years and a couple of $100,000. So we did a pretty good job. You can be proud of that.
One thing I would say is that Redmond did a very good job of expanding and identifying urban reserve areas. I still think we have a lot of work to do in identifying infrastructure needs for that expanded population. And we give a lot of credit to Heather Richards, who was here as your planning director, for getting that team effort, and I think Redmond did a very good job, particularly when you look at the trials and tribulations that Ben's going through.
Good.
Okay then, we're moving right along. Let's get to question number 3 then. And George, you start this one. What differentiates you from your opponent? What do you think is the most important distinction for voters to know?
Well, I'm not a litigator. I am actually, in my past, I was a computer scientist, and I was a strategic planner. That's what I did for a living. Loved every minute of it, and to tell you the truth, I miss it. But I actually like being mayor of Redmond more. We have a great community here. I think that one of the differences, as you all know, I've been mayor for the last 10 years. Before that, I was a councilor for a couple of years, and then on the planning commission before that. I don't want to cast aspersions, but Ed has not been mayor. He was mayor. We all know that 17 years ago. And a lot has changed. Redmond's doubled in population. You've seen a lot of changes here in town. I've been part of that entire effort. I think that the future, as I pointed out, my focus is people, living wage jobs. Where can we go from here? Ed's right in that we need to look at infrastructure, but we do that constantly. I mean, he and I are both part of a major effort to look at that South 97 project. I'm on the steering committee, Ed's on our technical advisory committee, and we actually do work together on occasion on projects of common interest to Redmond. Nothing wrong with that. We're in I guess I'll call it a competition today, but that's not to say we won't be working together again in the future on these issues of common interest. So we have a little different view on certain things. I think on the patent lands out at the airport, I know we do have a different view. Ed in the past thought we should sell land, be able to develop it. I want you all to know that we now are in the final negotiations with a major hotel chain here to actually build a hotel complex on some of that patent land. So we do see a bright future for Redmond. Thank you.
Well, I'm taller than George, and I'm younger than George. I think we both appreciate our commitment to Redmond. It's mutual. We both served for a long time our community. But we do have different visions of the future. I believe that we need to be much more aggressive, much more assertive in putting forth Redmond's interests, particularly in issues that involve state agencies or federal agencies. I'm not proposing that we take Juniper Golf Course, which is 200 acres, and sell those. That would never fly. But I do think that since there is no public money to develop that 200 acres, since it is an eyesore in the middle of our community, and I'll tell you this, when people come to our community, they notice things like that. Why do we have a desert in the middle of our town? My proposal is we come up with a plan with an experienced developer like Bill Smith to sell a very small portion of it, maybe 40 acres, to develop the capital to improve those 200 acres. So it becomes an oasis for business development instead of a desert in the middle of our community. I believe on the college campus, when Trump got elected, whether you like him or not, there's an opportunity there to get the patent released on the land adjacent to the college so that it can expand in the future and have a self-sustaining campus here in Redmond. I think that's very important for the community. Doing that now will save a lot of time, a lot of grief downstream when the college does need to expand. I believe that we can also pursue issues regarding South by 97. I'm not going to belabor that, but we have to be aggressive on preserving and protecting that corridor. That's a huge difference between George and I believe that we can do that. I believe we can do that with the cooperation of ODOT and from a community perspective. George thinks we need to wait. I think if we wait, we'll be dead because that area will develop over time and will be absolutely astronomically expensive to develop or to get a corridor through there. So there are differences, major differences on how we view important issues in this community, particularly in housing. I believe we can demand and require more development.
Ed's paying the timer off back there. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Would you like another minute on that, George?
Yeah, I specifically, I'm going to mention COCC for a minute, which I did to a few seconds ago. I'm actually, the land adjacent to the college currently is actually privately owned, and I have been talking to the owner of that property about doing a land swap. We do have some other property. It's actually a complicated deal, but some county land, some city land, and that land to be able to expand the campus. There are some stretches through there beyond that are city-owned land, the patent land that Ed was referring to. The thing is that we also have to work with the state because the COCC board just announced about 3 weeks ago that they would not be pursuing any expansion for the next 5 years at least because of funding issues through the state. So, we have to pay attention to all those issues all the time. It's a very complex problem. And having been mayor for all this time, I've got connections all over the state to be able to support you. So thanks.
So let me just give you an example. On South Highway 97, when we did the original reroute to get the traffic and trucks out of downtown, that project was not even on the state's radar. But through a lot of work with our state legislators, our federal legislators, the county, and the council, we were able to convince the state to make that the #1 project and to fund it. It wasn't even on the radar screen. Things can change over time, but it takes political will, political effort, and a lot of grease in terms of your elbow grease of getting the job done. That's what I think we need to do, and if we don't do it, we're going to lose the window of opportunity on a lot of these projects.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, time for closing statements. 2 minutes for each candidate. George, you lead us off.
Okay. Well, thank you. I got 10 seconds. There we go. Okay. This whole effort, Ed and I were talking about a few minutes ago just before the start, and how much we're loving running for office, and of course we both can't wait for it to get over. My comment is I love serving. I don't particularly like running, just so you know, but I do love serving the community. I'm a native of this area. I'm 5th generation Central Oregonian. My family came here in 1873. And obviously, through the years, we've all seen a lot of changes. I remember when I was a little guy, Redmond was about 3,700 people. And of course, now we're at 30,000. So think about that growth that we've gone through. I think that, however, the people that preceded me, and including the current group that are in place, we've done a really good job of planning Redmond. And I think Redmond still maintains that small home feel, small community, small town feel, even though we've been through the growth we've been through. The last thing I'll say about growth is that we are growing modestly at about 3% right now a year. That seems to be very sustainable. And I think that we have done an admirable job of the community. I want to see it continue, and I would love to be your mayor once again. So come when you get your ballots, please check my box. Thank you.
Thank you, George. George and I are up here, but this election is as much about you as it is about us. It's about what direction you want this community to go in. Is it stay the course like what we're doing, or is it to address some of these issues more aggressively and try and get solutions to the tough issues that our community faces? Some other differences I think that you need to look at. When the issue of marijuana came up, the state of Oregon approved it. The city council on its own just said we're not going to have any in Redmond. We've lost approximately $60,000 to $80,000 a year in revenues because of that decision. I believe it should be up to the voters whether or not we have a couple of marijuana retail establishments in Redmond. I'll tell you this, on this campaign, that was the #1 question I've had day in, day out, from July till now, has been, are we going to allow at least a couple of marijuana places here in town, rather than making us drive all the way to Bend and have Bend get the revenue and not Redmond? We have a revenue need for more police officers. There's a source right there. We're not going to stop marijuana use by not having retail here. It's still going to happen. It's whether you want that revenue or not. Another issue is the water bill. Council and the staff looked at putting a tax on your water bill to fund the police department. To me, that's a regressive tax. Someone on low income or Social Security is going to pay the same amount as someone who's making $150,000 a year. That's just not right. You don't hold your basic commodity of water hostage to a tax for a wholly different purpose. That is not right. It shouldn't happen. If you're going to go to the voters for more money, you have to do it in a very comprehensive and logistical way and let them approve it. Thank you.
Outstanding, gentlemen. Thank you very much. George Endicott and Ed Fitch, candidates for Maryland. Does sound good? So that means John Bullock, you get to go first. And what I'd ask you to do, candidates too, is in your 2 minutes, please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on the city council. So, John, we'll start with you. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to the Central Oregon Association of Realtors for hosting this, and to Geno's for having us here today. It's really great to see so many people out there, and I appreciate those of you that are watching on Facebook or YouTube as well. Being engaged in the community process is an important part of our civic responsibility, and that's why I'm choosing to run for city council. Redmond has been an amazing place for me to build a career, to raise my daughter, and it's time for me to give back. And so I love Redmond, and I know that you do too. And so what I want to bring to the city council is the experience that I've had as a citizen of Redmond, as someone who's built a large nonprofit company in downtown Redmond. I want to bring those skills to help Redmond grow as we get into a time period where we're going to go from 30,000 people to 50,000 people to 80,000 people. Now, I'm not sure I'll be around when 80,000 people will, but my grandkids might be. And I want to make sure that the work we do today to invest in Redmond today ensures that the Redmond of tomorrow is what we want it to look like and feel like and be. And I want to give back to our community by doing that. I think what I bring to the council is the experience of someone who runs complex organizations. In my time here in Redmond, I've built Redmond Proficiency Academy up to a place where we have 65 employees in downtown Redmond every day. 900 students come downtown to get their education, including nearly 400 who come from outside of Redmond to come get their education here. That was made possible because people in Redmond believe and support innovation. They believe and support people who locally have big dreams and want to accomplish those things. I want to be part of a council that ensures everyone has a voice and has that same opportunity to create the most livable place in Oregon. Redmond should be the place where people want to live and work and raise a family and retire. And I'm committed to sharing that with everyone. Thank you.
Okay, Christina Clark Endicott, your turn. 2 minutes.
Thank you for having me here today. Oh, I think I know I did it. Oh, there it goes. Thank you also for hosting this. I really appreciate it. I am Christina Clark Endicott, and the reason that I am running for council is, quite frankly, I love to serve. My background is in service and service to community, and I love to serve. And I have a background of service that it really started. My personal story is kind of how I started in service. I was a mom of 2 beautiful babies, and my husband was an attorney, and he was also a city councilor. And so he would bring home his city council packets, and we would go over them. And I found that I enjoyed that process of public service with him. Unfortunately, he contracted a brain tumor, and in 9 months he was gone. And my children looked at me, and they were 7 and 8, and I could see in their eyes, what are you going to do? And so I made a decision at that time that I was going to stand up and I was going to serve. And I was going to take my family with me. Together, we did the plantings for new trees. We served in the kitchens. And I believe in family service. I believe that service can save your family and it can save the community. And the more that people are involved and the more that you get them involved, the more they feel very entrenched in the community. I was elected to fill my late husband Dell's position. It was an election, it wasn't an appointment. Actually, another person was appointed that had been a former city councilor, and I ran against him and I unseated him. And I took what I like to call the clerk position back. I ran for another term of council, and then I ran for mayor and was elected to mayor 2 terms. I very much enjoyed being on the council and serving the community, and I also enjoyed the policy. I enjoyed making our communities better communities for everyone. And I will be that servant on council where I will work in the civic organizations and serve all of you. Thank you.
All right, next, Jay Patrick.
Thank you very much for coming and listening to us all today. Tell you a little bit about myself. I lived here most of all my life. Moved here when I was 6. My dad was in the military, born in Gateway. So I couldn't move to Gateway to become on exist. So we moved this way. And I moved here, there's 3,000 people. Now there's nearly 30,000. It's a sense of difference. Almost really unexplainable. But 20 of that I've been on the city council and been able to give back to the community for a number of reasons. But really because I love being a part of the decision making. And much rather be part of that than sitting on the sidelines and watching something happen and then say, well, that's a stupid decision. I'd rather be part of that stupid decision. And sitting on the side. It's been actually my home for 55 years. I love Redmond, and I want to see it continue to grow. I think we've done a great job. In the 20 years I've gone, I haven't seen we've done everything. But I'm confident the Maple Street Bridge, which at the time was really a hard subject. But if we hadn't done that, where would the north end of it be right now? There's been a number of things like that happen. And I just thought I'd been part of the decision to make that happen. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Jay. Our last candidate for city council, Josefina Riggs.
Hi, my name is Josefina Riggs. I am an immigrant. I moved to Redmond almost 13 years ago, and I started working with the community with different agents, like ROP. I am ROP rural member, and I work for Counci and another immigrants organizations to build immigration and make the immigrants welcome. I was pretty welcome in Redmond. I was feel safe in Redmond when I moved in here. My son was safe in Redmond when he moved in here. And I want that continued with that. I want to make the people that move to Redmond feel safe. They can be, we have the door open almost every time. We don't close the door in my home because we feel safe. And I want the people living here, any background that you have, if you belong to LGBTQ groups, or you are any kind of faith, or you are immigrants, you need to be welcome here. And my goal is make the city safe and make the people feel safe in here. And another thing is I want to work with the community the best I can. I am learning a lot with doing this kind of job, and the people in here is amazing, and I meet a lot of people. They are my tutors, and they help me to grow like a person. My background is I am a librarian. I have library science, master's degree library science in my country. I never can be librarian here because you need to come back to the school. But I do the best I can with my skills and working with the community and working like I do now. I am a PSW. I always be with disabilities.
Do we just turn that off? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Those are your 4 candidates for City Council. We'll begin the questioning now. And John, here's how we're going to do this. To give everyone an equal chance here, going first and second, whatnot. You're going to start with the questions, then you'll go fourth, third, second, okay? So your opening statement, or your closing statement will have you go second, okay? So that way everybody gets a chance to take the first question in order. All right, so we'll start with John Bullock, and the first question is, for the second year in a row, the Ben Redmond MSA retained its rank as number 1 in the Milken Institute's list of top 100 best performing small cities. The report mentions Redmond's sturdy and expanding manufacturing sector as one of the factors contributing to the ranking. What should the city be doing to continue to support industries like manufacturing and help ensure that living wage jobs are created in Redmond?
I think that as with any situation, there's not one simple solution, there's not one simple answer. And anytime we're looking for solutions, it's important to bring a variety of people around the table with different expertise, different ideas to talk about how to solve these things. One of the things I love about what Redmond has done, however, is that every year the city invests about $120,000 into the Redmond Economic Development Company so that we ensure that we're out trying to attract business and industry. You know, we recently were able to work with the Department of State Lands to get 900 plus acres of large lot industrial out by the fairgrounds. That's going to be a great addition to our portfolio of possibilities for companies. And it's going to bring in those living wage jobs that we need to continue building a sustainable, viable community that people want to live in. So I think the work we do with Ready is important. I think developing those lands are going to be important for the large lot industrial. I think it's also important that we continue to focus on ensuring our infrastructure is set up so that we can access those things. You know, the core interchange is going to be an important part of that to ensure that we can get great traffic in and out of that industrial land that we have available to us. Also going to be important to continue maintaining our focus on downtown. As we continue to grow and expand, we've got to keep our eye on the ball when it comes to the things that we're doing well as we expand into other ideas and areas. So I appreciate the work that's gone into to creating the high ranking that we have, and know that moving forward, we have work to do not only to maintain what we have to, but to expand it as well. One part of that is going to be making sure we have affordable, high-quality childcare available for our families. That is going to help solve affordable housing. It's also going to encourage people to bring their jobs here. And so I think that issue is one that has to be woven into any solution that we put forward.
All right. Thank you, John. It's time now for President Clark Endicott.
Thank you. So John said a lot of things that I would have said, because one of the wonderful things about Redmond is the Ready program. And I love that the city is supportive of this program, that they invest in this program. In fact, I just went on their 6th annual tour for their Made in Redmond, and we went to 4 great companies that really proved to me and to everyone that Redmond is growing and expanding in their family wage jobs. We are doing wonderful things in the city of Redmond, and I'm very proud of that. I'm the vice chair of the Planning Commission currently, and I think that John is correct. We have to make sure that we have homes for these families to live in. But I believe that the city of Redmond can continue on its course of being supportive of all the organizations that support those businesses, like Ready and like the Chamber. I'm very happy to be involved with the Chamber here in the city of Redmond. And I think that by doing that and by working with our businesses and hearing from our businesses, what are the things that are on your minds and hearts? And I am very excited to serve as a full-time counselor. I'm happy to go to all of the events. I'm happy to go to the open houses for businesses so that the businesses feel that the city is invested in their development and in their success.
All right, thank you, Present. Jay Patrick.
Really hard to be third in the line with only we looked at doing just the rate, and having somebody on board to do that. We went through 2 or 3 people before we finally came up with John Stark. John Stark was incredible. And him and Ed Hill, they worked great together. Now we have other tools. We have urban renewal districts. Many cities don't have that. And that gives a lot of money to be able to revitalize properties, as well as help business. We also have the enterprise zone, another thing that a lot of other communities don't have. So we've been able to, Redmond's always done things a little bit out of character, if you will, of the city. We've taken chances, and we've done things that others haven't done. And I feel that the state, as well as everybody else, tends to look at over here in Central Oregon to see what we're doing. I really feel that as a council, and we're happy to be a part of that. So all these different organizations that have been here to help us move along, I'm excited to see what John Stark and Endor is going to help us with on the 900 acres. And of course, the poor industry coming in.
All right, thank you. It's time for Josefina Riggs.
I think it is you develop industrials and corporations here in the town that bring people to work in here. Great, but that means you need to improve the schools, you need to improve housing, you need to improve the road transportation. That's a big, huge problem we get as well. And I think it's good because for the economy it's going to be good, but there are other things that we need to take care of. And some people, they like the rural, little Redmond town, and they don't want that road too much. But at the same time, we need the business and we need the ability to welcome business over here in Redmond that make the city grow in the right way.
Thank you very much. And this time, we will begin with Chrisanna Clark Endicott. And the second question is, opposition from neighbors is not uncommon when affordable housing projects are proposed within the city. In the midst of an affordable housing crisis, how can Redmond support neighborhoods while also increasing the supply of affordable housing?
There's opposition. We have differing opinions, and yes, that happens in cities, and that's okay. But one of the things that I found with my experience in serving on city councils, I think that one of the things that you have to do is you have to look at those big problems and you have to bring everyone together and you have to talk about them. I think that we have talked in the city of Redmond a lot about affordable housing, and some great and wonderful ideas have come forward. Mayor Endicott talked a lot about this, perhaps we may get, and or Redmond, or maybe Bend and Redmond, will get an affordable housing development. And I think that would be a wonderful boom for Redmond. But I think that one of the things that we can do is we can set everyone up for success. I think that the ADU, we talked about that when I was in Planning Commission. We talked a lot about adding the ADUs and having that, what you call praying flat, opportunity for people. But it's also an opportunity for people having students return from college, an opportunity for them to start out their life with their family, but having their own little space. And I think that those are areas that we could encourage here in Redmond and continue to listen to the neighbors. And I don't believe that people will be in such adversity to continuing to improve our neighborhoods with the addition of great developments that include great sidewalks, that include great pocket parks, and that do not remove people from each other, but bring people together in community. I think that many developments that don't include all different aspects of developments and many things that make a development look as a neighborhood and more of a community, then that's where you really miss out on that community piece. And I think that Redmond is doing a very good job of that, and I'd be happy to continue that success.
All right, thank you, Christina. Jay Patrick, same question.
Well, being on council, as I have for so long, watching the different plans that came in, I struggle with them at times because obviously the apartments are the last, or there's a lot of density here, whatever you want to say. The apartments basically come in last, and where they can make the money, the developers make the money off of single family housing. And so it's difficult to play that game because we don't build houses, they build houses. And we set the policy, but it's a struggle to try and get the apartments and those buildings that will house more people built. I don't think there is such an item in Central Oregon called affordable house. I think the closest we're going to get is with the 40 acres that we're looking at the state. I think that will set a standard, if you will. If Redmond's able to get it, we will be able to, I believe, successfully build that project and the state will then look, maybe they'll relax a little bit on some of the things they demand we do when we're building subdivision. And I like the Randy Flats idea. I think that's a great item, great tool to call the toolbox. But we need more of that. We need some relaxation of some of the demands on bills. Jam everybody in a little hole. And a lot of our building is, we do so, we have to follow the rules the state gives us to accomplish that building project. And I have nothing to around it. So I'd like to see that passed.
All right, thank you. Josefina?
Housing is a big trouble, not only in Oregon, in Central Oregon as well. I know people that are living, 2 families in one house, and with kids. I know people, they work almost 3 jobs, try to afford an apartment in Redmond. They live in here and work in Bend. And that is huge. And I know people that are homeless. I meet people that are homeless, they live in the streets. And I meet people, the LGBT groups, the kids that are in that part of the group that are living in the streets and they are homeless. There are things that sometimes we don't see it because it's like a different point of view, and we need to be concerned that that thing happen. And I am very decide to work with housing in here because I know the people need a decent place to live. And I know care workers, they work only 15 hours a month. They can afford a place to live.
All right, thank you, Josefina. John Wood?
Thank you very much. The first part of that question was about how do we manage conflict when people have differing ideas. And I think as we see our city continue to grow, the potential for conflict grows as we get a diverse set of ideas and opinions. And I think in all of those cases, that's best resolved by getting people around the table and having conversations about what it is we want and what it is we desire. Because oftentimes, during those conversations, we'll understand that we all want pretty close to the same thing. We just differ about how we want to get there. And I think it's incumbent upon leadership to provide opportunities and access for those conversations to occur. And so whether we're talking about affordable housing or other issues, we need to provide opportunities for people to come together and have difficult discussions and be okay that they're difficult. Because we're making decisions about our future. It might not be easy, and that's okay. And we have to engender those conversations between ourselves. When it comes to affordable housing, one of the things we have to do is talk about what does that really mean. You know, the median income in Redmond is about $40,000. and the average home price is just under $300,000. Affordable housing is a tough thing to talk about because the numbers don't really add up. We need to make sure that when we build housing in Redmond, that we build a wide variety of housing that meets the needs of everybody who wants to live and work here. So we're going to have conversations about density. We're going to have conversations about how we put into effect our great neighborhood principles so that when we build communities, there's a place inside neighborhoods where people can go for commerce and for meeting. Maybe there's little markets, maybe there's coffee shops, maybe there's places where you can walk to pick up a loaf of bread or a jug of milk rather than getting in your car and driving. I think that's an important part of that conversation as well. The affordable housing project we're putting forward, if it comes to fruition, there'll be about 485 units, and about half of those will be affordable housing. We're seeing about 400 new housing permits per year that we issue, and we're getting about 800 people per year moving here. So while that project is a great one, and I hope we get it because I think we will show the state how this can be done, that alone is not enough. We need to continue this process by continuing this conversation.
Okay, thank you very much. Time for question number 3. And this time, Jay, you will begin. Can you turn your mic off just a second, please? Okay. What differentiates you from your opponents? And what do you think is the most important distinction for voters to know?
I don't know. I think when I look at city council, when I look at government in general, I look at federal government and I say we need terminals. Guy who goes out of the office, the guy who lives in there. And I look at the state, I think the same way. When it comes down to city council, I obviously don't think that way. But I also don't have a lobbyist acting all the time. I'm not making money in this job, in my opinion. So I'm here because I love Redmond and I care about the community. And if you are out of this room today and don't hear anything else, just hear that. That I love the community. I'm going to be honest with you. And I want to see it, the culture of Redmond stay as long as we can. I know we're going to grow. I said earlier we're going to grow 10 times since I've been in existence when I moved here. We're going to continue that. But what we can't have happen is I told them statistics stuff. We were $800 average rental costs in 2010. Now we're 12 times. But the cost of housing is went up $60,000 since 2010. We can't do that. I'm not making that much more money than I was in 2000. So the figure, it doesn't work out that way. So we as the council have to help make the decisions that will help the growth happen as best we can. And I do have a lot of experience. I have been president of the council quite often, so I can work with other people. So that's me.
All right, thank you, Jay. Josefina, you get to go next.
I think that's easy question to answer. We came from different backgrounds, and we have different ideas, and we have different ways to run it, and we have different ways to approach it to another people. I am learning every day. I am almost 60 years old. I am learning every day, and I try to learn more. I'm going to be very carefully and to learn more about it. My first language was Catalan. My family came from Spain. My second language is Spanish. My third language is English. And I learned, try to talk and try to communicate with you guys. And I think we have different backgrounds and we can have different ideas and we can help the people in that community with the ideas that we have. And that's the point. That's the point that you are running for city council or running for another position.
All right, thank you. Next up is John Bullock.
Thank you very much. I think when we talk about the 7 people who are going to serve on our city council, the 6 councilors and the mayor, it's important that we have differences in ideas and thoughts and opinions, and we come from places in our community that provide for different sets of inputs. I think what sets me apart from my fellow candidates and my fellow councilors is that I have experience running large, complex organizations. I've created jobs in Redmond. I currently have 60 plus people working in our organization, an organization that we grew from the ground up in Redmond. I've experienced managing multi-million-dollar budgets, complex budgets that involve public and private funds. I've overseen the development of a number of public-private partnerships in which we built buildings or acquired spaces. Those experiences help me to provide another perspective to the council. During the budget process this year, we went into the budget process with certain assumptions and certain needs. One of those needs was that the police department said we needed 8 more officers. And we went into a budget process that assumed that we could afford 2, or maybe 3. What I asked the budget committee to do and the council to do is to consider our assumptions in that process, because budgeting is about taking assumptions and making priorities and showing people what you value. And so I challenged that group to look at their assumptions, and in the process, we were able to fund 4 officers without having to go to the taxpayers to ask for more money, without having to put a utility fee in place, because we took a different look at it. We looked at it from a business perspective. We looked at it from a complex organization perspective and challenged those assumptions. I see my role on council as to bring in that different perspective, bring in the perspective of an employer, bring in the perspective of someone who's worked on public-private partnerships, and bring that to council so that we can have robust discussions about what's important for our community.
All right, thank you. Christina?
Thank you. Well, I'm pretty sure that I'm the only former mayor. Yeah. So that's one of the things that I think I bring to the table is a vast amount of experience in city government. And in my experience being a mayor and being a city councilor, I came to a lot of different conclusions. And I think that one of the things that I love the most is serving on all the committees. I'm kind of a policy nerd. I'm not gonna lie. I love talking policy. I love going, I served on the Southwest Corridor Plan to talk about transportation. I served on our R1 Act Plan, which was also on transportation. It was the highest, it was like your co-act here. And I love to make people's lives better. I love to think outside the box, come up with new ideas, much like John talked about. When issues hit, I love to think about how can we solve this issue? How can we make our citizens' lives just a little bit better? And how can I pull from that breadth of years of experience in working in city government from somewhere else? How can I grab an idea that worked in another community and bring it to my community? Because really, we're not recreating the wheel here. Cities have been in survival for many, many years, and the greatest cities grab ideas from other cities, and they make those work in their city. And I think that that's one of the things that I bring to the table is years and years of experience in making cities work well and work for their citizens through service.
All right, thank you very much, candidates. Time for your closing remarks now, and each of you will get 2 minutes. Host the meeting, you get to lead us off.
I think it's very important to that kind of job. I think a lot of people encourage me to be a city council or have a position power, because we need to help the people. They need our ideas. They need how the experience we have in our lifetime. They can help to build in a very good city. Redmond is a good city. It's a nice place to live, but we need a lot of problems we have to resolve. Housing. We need to make the people welcome in here. The immigrants by me, the immigrants by my son. And we need to work in that because it's not okay that city turn in something different. And I want to help the people in the city and do the job, the best job they can.
All right, thank you, Jose Pierre.
Thank you very much. A couple of years ago, I took my daughter to college, and at that point on the drive home, I wondered what was next for me. There were some people, including my friends and family, that speculated I was going to probably move somewhere and find something new to do. As during that process, I thought about what I wanted. I wanted to live in a place that felt like home. I wanted to live in a place where there was natural beauty. I wanted to live in a place where possibilities were explored and grasped and where people could thrive. And I said to myself on that drive home, I want to live in Redmond. I want to stay in Redmond. I want to retire in Redmond. And after that happened, I was fortunate enough that an opening came on city council, and I asked if I could serve. And I was given that opportunity. For the past 11 months, I've enjoyed this more than I ever thought I possibly could. Because I've got to talk to all of you. I've got to listen to what your hopes and dreams are. I've got to hear about what people want for the future of Redmond. And what I found out is we all want pretty much the same thing. We want to live in a beautiful place. A place that has great roads and clean water and it's safe. We want to live in a place where we know our neighbor and where we can be at peace with our friends and enjoy all that life has to offer. Redmond provides that for us. It provided it for me. Redmond gave me an opportunity to grow in my career, and it gave me a place to raise my daughter, and I want to stay here and I want to be a part of it. Throughout this campaign process, people have asked, what if you don't get elected? I'm still going to stay here, and I'm still going to give everything I can to this community because I love it. You get a choice during this election. That's a great part of the election process. You get a choice. I hope that you choose me because I want to keep doing this work for you. But you get to make that choice. And know this, every day when I wake up, it's the same thing. I'm reminded about this beautiful place that we all love. And I work my tail off to try and make it better for all of us. And I'll keep doing that. And I hope to keep doing it for the next 4 years for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm a refugee from the Willamette Valley, and I love it here. My children love it here, and I do love to serve. And I think that as a public servant, one of the things that you have as a responsibility is bring great ideas. And so I have 2 great ideas that I would like to implement as your city councilor. One of them is an active duty military program. We implemented this in Sherwood, and we snitched the idea from Beaverton because great ideas come from other cities. All you have to do is go look and talk to the League of Oregon Cities and talk to the other mayors. I spent a lot of time at the Oregon Mayor's Association talking to other mayors. They give you some great ideas. The active military duty program is it's a banner program that the city would help sponsor, and I'm just going to be advocating for this. Obviously, this is a decision that I'll make. It'll be a decision that council will make. That active duty military residents of Redmond, their families can purchase a banner, and the city will hang the banner. And every day that we see the city of Redmond supports Lieutenant Joe Bloom, we can be reminded that our residents are serving us in the military. I think that this is a great reminder. One of the things that I love about Redmond when I moved here is your amazing flag program. I love seeing that dedication to our veterans, and I'd like to see that same dedication to the active duty military. The second thing is I'd like to bring a community garden to the city of Sherwood. My grandmother used to stand with me and teach me all about gardening, and it's an intergenerational activity that has nothing to do with these things. And it's a great way for us to be in community with each other, and it's also a wonderful garden area, and also an activity area. We started this in Sherwood. I still run it, and it is extremely popular, and the plots are purchased and completely done every year. And in fact, our fire department every year purchases 2 plots and donates half of all their produce to the Helping Hands community. Thank you.
I'd like just to go back 20 years. When I was on council, started on council, I've seen the airport, which was when I was a kid. It was one little tiny building. And this is large. And now we're up to 40,000 almost planes a month. Huge. And I and they're planning right now to expand, so it's going to keep going. I've been involved in budgeting for that all this time, and I'm really proud to say that Redmond is probably, I'll just say Redmond's the best man in the city as far as budgeting goes that I know. We had some of the best budget people who have watched it and been very careful and thoughtful, and so we never got in trouble, and I'm really proud of that. I spoke with Maple Street Bridge, I'm proud of that. Gary Lynch said it should be 4 lanes. I think he was right, but it's not right now. Moving the 97 bypass in, fantastic for the city of Redmond. We used to complain about 3,000 trucks going through town. Well, I just saw the records that the 97 bypass has, what was it, in 15, it had like 33,000. Well, this year it had 39,000. So the traffic is becoming a problem. But that, if we had moved it out of town, where would we be? We redid it in 6th Street, and I think it was wrong with us. We have an urban renewal that I spoke of earlier, was helping businesses to improve the look of their business, and I think that's great. Centennial Park and Water Park. Okay. Centennial Park, fantastic. The water park, great for the kids. The last thing, the new city park. I love that. And I'm so glad to make that completed. I think it's cheaper than
Okay, folks, these are your city council candidates. You want to give them a round of applause? John Boyd, President Clark Endicott, Jay Patrick, and Josefina Riggs. Thank you all so much. Now, this young man's got a microphone. I'll bring it over to you. Right there.
Hello. You've all identified a lot of interesting problems and opportunities for the city. Could each of you list one specific problem or opportunity and one specific action you would take in your first year, assuming you get elected?
Let's see, I have the mic, so maybe I'll start down here. First year, I think what you just heard about, one of the primary projects, if we get picked, is that affordable housing project. I want to remind you that the way that's designed, 40 acres, half of the homes are destined to be affordable. The other half are destined to be market rate, and they're going to be intermixed. So it will not get this notion of an enclave of affordable houses and then a group of others. So I'm looking forward to really seeing that project come out of the ground and moving and see if we can help the state solve or demonstrate an affordable housing solution.
And I think that's very important as well, but I also think that we need as council to step back and take a look at, I talked to business owners that came, I talked to, that have found it a little hard for their business in town, and I'd like to hear from them more. I would encourage them to go to the council and we can listen to what they have, the frustrations, help we might be able to give them. And I like to look at that and help businesses.
I agree with Jay. After going on the Reading tour, I think that to support our businesses, I think would be my #1 priority. To hear from them, is it the facade red program that you need? Is that what's going to bring you to that next level? Or are our SUVs, sorry, that was not the right SBC. Sorry about that, those but is that a barrier to your growth? I think that when you step out there and you start asking those hard questions, I want to be an advocate for our businesses and our business community.
I think as a community, we're stronger when more people participate. And in the process of talking to people, particularly over the past couple months and certainly over the past year, I hear people ask, how do I engage with the city? How do I get to be part of it? And so I'd like to engage in a transparent process that educates our community members about how they are engaged in the process. What are the ways you can speak to council about issues? What are ways you can get involved with commissions? Perhaps starting some sort of citizens academy where people learn about how things work in the city and are then better able to contribute. Because there's a lot of great ideas out there. There's a lot of great people with those ideas, and we have to welcome them in so that we can make the best decisions for our future.
Yeah, they have my ears open and hear what the people say and try to work with the people. And every people has different ideas, and we can help them what if the needs are. And I think be immigrant and speak another language and be part of the community. There are very things important in here, and I want make ability for the people feel safe and feel comfortable living in here.
It's always a challenge when you run problems to use the I word way too much. It's always a team effort. And one of the first things that I would recommend is that as a team, the council and the administration have a retreat to discuss what all of us think are the priorities, what all of us think we should do getting out of the gate next year. Because if you aren't going to work as a team, it's not going to work at all. And then you take those issues to the public through public hearings and decide, and take all that public input before you really can take any action. But the key thing is to work at it from a team perspective. We've all talked about economic development here or a number of improvements in the community, and none of us are personally in charge of that. This has been a team effort, not for the past 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. This has been a team effort since the 1970s. We stand on the shoulders of a lot of giants in this community. I remember Ron Bryant, when he was mayor, brought in the sewer system. Sam Johnson was unbelievable as a mayor. Bob Reed was the mayor between, when we had the deep recession in the 1980s. We stand on the shoulders of a lot of people who did a lot of work before from a team perspective. Ready was one that was established way back in the 1990s. All of these processes, and that's what makes Redmond beautiful. We have a bigger sense of community across the board than any other city I've ever been in. We have a consensus from a community perspective on most of the major issues that we encounter, on how we develop economically, on protecting downtown, on helping downtown. We do a lot together. The key thing going forward into next year is to get a consensus, first at the council within the city itself, but then get a consensus from the community that those are the right priorities, and that's how we should move forward.
There are two here at the front.
Ed brought up earlier the marijuana issue. I haven't heard anyone else talk about it, and Redmond has made a concerted effort to block recreational and medicinal marijuana in the city. So what I was saying, Ed is saying that he would like to send it back to voters for progress. I'm curious what part of the that issue.
So I know the marijuana thing is some people they don't like talking about it, but for the medical perspective, I think a lot of people feel help when they use the marijuana. And I think we have a very best organization and very good rules to make the people they can buy the marijuana and control the American, like not be a black market behind, is going to be the solution in here.
Thank you, Heather. As it relates to recreational and medicinal marijuana, it's clear that the people of Oregon have spoken on the issue. One of the issues facing the city of Redmond relative to that is the reliance on federal funds, particularly for the airport. The desire not to violate any sort of federal law to marijuana. I've asked the staff to provide me with more information about exactly how all that works in terms of the federal rulings and federal funding, so that we can get accurate information out to make a decision. I do think if we want to go forward with that it should be by a vote of the people, so that our community can decide how we want to treat that issue. And so I would be in favor of learning more in terms of how it interacts with federal law and federal funding. And if we decide that that's something that people would like to pursue, putting it to a vote of people is the best way to move forward.
I'm in agreement with John on this. I believe that the cost associated with having recreational marijuana in our community is something that cannot be overlooked. I think that it's not only the actual financial cost, but also the cost with the exposure to recreational marijuana to our children. I have a concern over that. I think that to lose federal funding would be detrimental to the city, but it's also an additional cost that maybe is not been talked about here, and that's an additional cost to our police force. There will be needs if we bring recreational marijuana into our community that far exceed any kind of small amount that we receive from the state on the sale. I don't believe that the offset would be worth the cost. I'm not against sending it to the people for a vote, but at this time, until that federal piece is taken care of, I'm not in favor of recreational marijuana in the city of Redmond.
As you might guess, I'm a conservative one, and I oftentimes vote in opposition to the rest of the board on the way they feel about it. I'm not afraid of medical marijuana as much as recreation. I think we did take a vote when we voted on it in the state of Oregon. Now, I'm not going to follow Portland on what they do. The city of Redmond, what we look at, I believe, voted against it. And that is what we're doing now. And I would not want to take the chance of losing the millions of dollars that federal government gives us with a shake of the dice on whether or not they might come back and say, no, you're playing marijuana, it's against federal law, and come back at us and not give us the grant. I think we're much better off in very well right now.
Thank you, Heather. I just wrote a short treatise on the subject. If it hasn't been posted on my website, so it will be. First of all, remember there are two kinds of marijuana, recreational and medical. You've already heard about the recreational, and of course, the more that marijuana's out there, the higher the chances that our kids are going to get a hold of it. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, there was an article published in the American Journal of Psychiatry that talked about the differences between alcohol and marijuana exposure for kids and the adverse effects on their brains. And they did find that, in fact, marijuana has a more and longer lasting, more dramatic and longer lasting adverse impact on children's brains than does alcohol. So that concerns me greatly. In terms of medical marijuana, I personally believe that there are medical uses. I have been an advocate and have talked even to our federal counterparts in Washington, encouraging them to have marijuana change from a class 1 to a class 2 drug. That would make it much like what you see with morphine today as a controlled substance. The FDA would test it, doctors would prescribe it, pharmacies would dispense it. The dispensaries would go away, the pharmacies. Interestingly enough, the dispensary community does not like this item, as you can imagine. Everything, newsflash, you can all grow your own right now. So there's no prohibition, federally, state, or local, to prevent you from growing your own marijuana if that's your choice. What the city of Redmond has is an ordinance going back to 1989 that prohibits us from granting a business license to any business that's in violation of local, state, or federal law. And as long as marijuana is outlawed federally, we have an ordinance in place that prevents us from issuing a business license. Now, I don't have a problem at all going out and asking the people on a referendum on how they feel about that. But just my personal belief is, I'm okay with medical, if the feds would approve it. You've already heard why it puts us at risk to go ahead and approve it here without that sort of approach. So thank you for the question.
First of all, the federal issue is a red herring. Portland has it, Salem has it, Eugene has it, Redmond has it. Not one of them have any issue with federal funding. Furthermore, last June, there was a press release out of Washington, D.C. that there was bipartisan legislation that if states had legalized it, the federal prohibition of it would be waived for those states. And the White House already indicated that they would sign that legislation. The issue here isn't whether or not you like marijuana or don't like marijuana. I don't use it, but I think it should be a choice. I think the choice should be to the voters, not to the city council. I do believe that the ordinance that would be referred to the people would have to be carefully crafted so that it ensured we would only have public dispensaries in locations that would not be available to children, not be available to teenagers, just like we have with our liquor stores. I do think that choice is out there. I think the voters should make that determination. And I do believe that that revenue will help with the police department.
Tricky microphones today. That's all the time we have. I'm sorry. I know some people have some questions. Maybe the candidates will be happy to answer your questions. But as far as the forum, our time is up today. I want to thank all of you for coming and thank our candidates today. Josephina Riggs, John Bullock, Christina Clark Endicott, Jay Patrick, and your mayoral candidates, George Endicott and Ed Fitch. Ballots get sent out next week, and the last day to register to vote is the 16th. I'm assuming, since you're all here, part of the political process, you're all registered to vote, but you have less than a week to do so, that the ballots get mailed out, and election day is November 6th. So we look forward to finding out who is going to be representing your city of Redmond. And let me say this, Redmond is a fantastic place. And I think you've got some good candidates here to lead it into the future. Thank you very much.